Hello everyone, I am Arib from CS1 division and I have done the two Linux certification courses. The first certificate is from MindLuster and the another certificate is of Simplilearn. So in this video I am going to tell what I learned from these two certification courses. So let's begin. So first of all, I saw what is an operating system is. So operating system is just an interface between us and the hardware. It allows us to interact with the hardware to run certain applications. Like user uses the application uses the operating system, and operating system uses the hardware. So now let's see what is Linux. So let's see what is Linux. So Linux is open source kernel which when combined with other applications make operating system. We know father of all operating system is Unix. But Linux is a different from Unix as Unix is not an open source but Linux is. Linux is like Unix but not Unix. Now let's see what is kernel. Kernel is a big part of an OS. Almost 80% of the work is done by kernel. Like kernel, we have system libraries, system functions, and applications. These all combinedly make to form a complete operating system. When we open Windows, we see the graphical user interface that is a part of applications and not kernel. Linux is a kernel which is a open source kernel. Linux with other applications from operating system. These are Linux based operating system which we will see later. Now see, Linux was a Unix based kernel developed by the Linus Torvalds in 1991. So what are the benefits of Linux? By we know Linux is open source, it is lightweight, there is fear malware means it is more secured, there is no chances of viruses, it is stable, its performance is better, it is highly flexible, it is highly configurable, and it is awesome for development. Now see different Linux distribution. So Linux installation process was too complicated, so many people tried to develop other distributions of Linux like SLS, which is the oldest Linux distribution, Ubuntu, Fedora, Red Hat, which is paid. Even distributions have some sub distributions. These are some examples of Linux distributions. Some more examples are Alpine, Elementary Operating System, RHEL, Cent Operating System, OpenSUSE, and another. Here Ubuntu is a beginner friendly operating system. Now let's see Linux architecture. So applications are based on the shell, and shell is based on the Linux kernel, and the kernel is based on the hardware. Now let's see what are the components of Linux. So some components of Linux, we can say hardware, Linux kernel. So these are the components of Linux, like there's schedules, the processors, file system, basically a system which allows to store files and data. Then there is security, which is used for the security purposes. Then network for networking options, drivers, which says kernel that how particularly things work like mouse functions and etc. Now let's see the kernel modes. So there are two kernel modes generally. The first one is the user mode. So it doesn't have a lot of access because of security. And the second one is the kernel mode, which have more access. Now let's see the shell. So to starting, stopping, and monitoring processes, we use the shell. It is the place where we give commands. So there are two ways to do that. The first one is CLI and the another one is GUI. Here CLI means the uh, command line interface, and GUI means the graphical user interface. Now let's understand the file system in Linux. So in file system of Linux, it can include media, documents, images, etc. It's about how files are stored. Now let's see some of the commands used basically used in the Linux terminal and understand their syntax and meaning. So first command is pwd. So here pwd means present working directory, which shows us the directory we're currently working in which directory we are in. Then the next command is ls, which lists all the files within the particular folder. The next is cd space file name. This command is used to navigate from one directory to another directory. The another command is mkdir, which makes the new directory. And to make the new empty file, we use the touch, like touch.txt. This is the syntax of touch. Then next command is cat filename.txt. Simply it just shows the content of that particular file. The next command is rm. Its syntax is rm space filename.txt. It simply means removing a particular file or a directory from the system. It completely removes that particular file or directory. The next command is cp. cp is generally used for copying the files from one space to another space. The next command is uname. It gives the kernel name, and if we use uname space -r, it gives us the kernel number, and if we use uname space -a, it gives the details of the system, the complete details of the system. The next command is sudo space su. It is used to go from the normal user to the root user. The next command we can see is history, which shows all the commands used in the past. Then there is echo, and the syntax of echo is echo space double quotes the sentence we have to print. So this is generally used to print the desired sentence or word. Then the next command is bc. bc is used to open the calculator in the terminal. Then the next command is cal. cal is used to open the calendar in the terminal. And the next command is ping space google.com. It is used to see whether we are connected to internet or not. So these are all the things that I learned from these two certification courses. Thank you.